Day of celebration turns into chaos. Gunfire erupts at a packed block party.
Developing news, Long Beach police responding to the newly opened Marathon Burger in Long Beach. News Chopper 4 was up over the downtown area earlier today where we saw several police vehicles outside of the restaurant.
Welcome back to BuzzBuster. I'm glad you're here. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss daily videos. One person lost their life and a bunch of others got trapped in the chaos. Cops pulled up fast, locked eyes on one man, Blacc Sam, standing right in the middle of what was supposed to be a peaceful family event. This wasn't just some random street shootout. It was way deeper than that. It was the second time shots rang out at the Marathon Burger spot, and what went down that day will seriously blow your mind. Blacc Sam wasn't out there chasing drama. He was carrying his brother's legacy, trying to build something real for the people, something powerful with a purpose. But the streets, they had their own cold plans.
Right there, you could see them, police tape stretching across the parking lots as well as into some apartments. Today was the grand opening of that new Marathon Burger location. Plenty of
those in power didn't care about peace or progress. The big grand opening of Marathon Burger, meant to be a new beginning for the neighborhood, flipped into straight-up chaos. What should have been a fresh start for the block ended up showing just how deep those old tensions still run. It's wild how trying to build something positive in the wrong place at the wrong time can turn deadly. To really understand how this family event turned into a full-blown crime scene, you gotta go back to the roots, back to when Nipsey first dreamed up Marathon Burger. It wasn't just about food, it was about empowerment. It stood as a loud symbol of pride and ownership for South LA. Every day, folks pulled up to grab Marathon Burgers, and it wasn't just for the taste, it was for the movement. Locals were getting jobs, families were proud, and people felt connected to something that actually came from them. Outsiders had written that whole area off, but Nipsey's dream flipped that narrative completely. People weren't lining up just for burgers, they were lining up for hope, for unity, for real change that came straight from the community. Yeah, the LA spot had its ups and downs, but the community never let it fall apart.
Hey, he's right here, Sam's right here. You good?
Celebs were sliding through to show major love. Families made it their favorite hangout, and young folks were getting real jobs instead of getting caught up in street life. It was proof that Nipsey's vision wasn't just talk, it was alive and breathing right in front of everyone's eyes. That place showed the world that real economic power can grow in neighborhoods big corporations love to overlook. But that's when things started getting messy. See, when you're building something strong in the hood, especially when your name holds serious weight, you're not just flipping burgers anymore. You're stepping into politics, old rivalries and street beefs that never truly fade away. Success in a place like that can paint a huge target on your back. Not everyone's clapping for you, no matter how good your intentions are. Some folks see your rise as competition, while others see it as a straight-up threat. So when Blacc Sam decided to expand Marathon Burger to Long Beach, that move wasn't just business, it was a gamble with real risks. Long Beach got its own code, its own heavy hitters, and decades of street history tied to loyalty, turf, and power. Stepping into that world meant walking into something way bigger than a grand opening. When you bring a big-name business into a neighborhood with deep street roots, you automatically become part of that story, like it or not. At that point, you're not just a business owner anymore. You turn into a symbol, a message that either inspires people or makes others uncomfortable. And sometimes, you even become a target. That's the cold truth. And the wild part is, this wasn't even the first time trouble hit a Marathon Burger spot. Tension had already been bubbling under the surface, with little incidents showing that these locations were attracting both real love and real danger. People came out heavy to show love.
I'm actually really annoyed that they shot up that Marathon Burger event.
But others showed up with pure hate in their hearts. Some were there to celebrate, while others were just watching, waiting for something to pop off. Still, Blacc Sam stayed focused on the vision. He wasn't just chasing profits, he was fighting every single day to keep his brother's dream alive, no matter how dangerous it got. The Long Beach opening wasn't some random business play. It was a statement, a move that said the marathon movement was bigger than one block, bigger than Crenshaw. Sam wanted to prove that Nipsey's message could shine beyond borders, spreading power and pride through more than one city. But that kind of growth came with major exposure, and exposure brings eyes, whispers, and danger. With the expansion came new politics, new faces, and new risks. Not everybody in Long Beach was ready to respect what Sam was trying to build. The tension actually started before the first burger was even flipped. Long Beach got a deep, complicated history of gang territories, lines drawn back in the 80s that still run deep to this day. These no-name sets in that area got long-standing beefs with several others, and those grudges, they don't just fade out, they wait for a moment to resurface. These aren't petty neighborhood disputes. These are life and death rivalries that have lasted for generations. In places like that, one wrong look, one wrong word, or even standing in the wrong spot can set everything off again. No exaggeration. In that environment, stepping the wrong way can literally cost you your life.
So when you throw a grand opening packed with celebrities, millionaires, and community leaders all in one place, you're putting a huge spotlight on the block. That kind of energy attracts everybody, fans, supporters, and people with dark intentions too. Big events like that become magnets for those with nothing left to lose and everything to prove. For some gang members, moments like that are seen as opportunities, a chance to make a name, send a message, or even settle an old score when nobody's expecting it. And according to multiple witnesses who were right there on the scene, that's exactly what went down. People say there was one young guy from the 80s set who showed up solo to that grand opening.
So Nipsey Hussle's brother, Blacc Sam, opened up a new marathon burger in Long Beach.
And the fact that he came alone in that kind of crowd was straight up wild. You don't just walk into enemy territory solo unless you're either reckless or you've got a serious plan in motion. But that's exactly what this dude did. He stepped right into the Marathon Burger grand opening, packed with families, celebs, and community leaders, and started wilding out in the middle of it all. This was supposed to be a peaceful family celebration, not a battleground. Names like Snoop Dogg, Big Boy, and YG were in the crowd, and still this man decided to throw up gang signs, shout threats, and straight up disrespect rival crews right in front of everybody. The level of boldness was unreal. According to sources, this 80s member wasn't just throwing random shade. He was calling out specific names, acting like he ran the block, and basically daring anyone to check him. All that chaos went down while he was surrounded by people tied to those very same rival sets. Imagine that. At an event built to honor unity, love, and community growth, this guy was flipping the whole message upside down. The disrespect that day was so out of pocket that nobody could just let it slide. Something was bound to happen. But here's the wild twist. Things didn't play out the way anyone expected. While that one dude was showing off and taunting his enemies, people in the crowd started moving toward Blacc Sam. But get this, they weren't coming to start trouble or wreck the event. They were actually showing respect. Witnesses say they went up to Sam and told him straight up, this dude's gotta go before things get out of control. They didn't want to stain Nipsey's legacy or turn a day meant for peace into another tragedy. They made it clear they respected what the Marathon brand stood for: empowerment, unity, and community growth. But that kind of open disrespect couldn't slide in their presence. The talk between them and Sam stayed cool but heavy. Calm voices, serious tension. You could feel the pressure in the air. They laid everything out for him: who the dude was, what kind of drama he was stirring up, and how fast things could explode if it wasn't handled right now. The message was clear as day. If Blacc Sam didn't step in to stop it, they would. And everyone standing there knew what that meant. If it came to that, violence would break out right in the middle of what was supposed to be a celebration for the whole community. Then, things took an even darker turn, fast. While those talks with Blacc Sam were still going down, 3 more members from the 80s crew rolled up to the scene. Now picture this, 4 of them standing there, surrounded by what witnesses say could have been 100 rivals, all trying to keep the peace at an event that was supposed to be about unity and progress. The energy shifted instantly.
They shot it up. I just feel like that's so disrespectful.
What started as a community celebration was seconds away from chaos. Here's the wild part. Those extra 80s members didn't even know their guy was the one causing all the drama. They pulled up thinking their homie was in danger, ready to back him up, not realizing he was the one who had started the whole mess. Meanwhile, the rivals weren't playing around. They told Blacc Sam straight up, he's gotta go. And Sam? He was right in the middle, trying to hold it all together while protecting the image of the event and the safety of everyone there. It was a nightmare situation. One wrong word, one sudden move, and it could have all gone left in seconds. Blacc Sam was torn. He wanted to serve the people, honor his brother's legacy, but also stop any violence before it erupted right there in front of families, kids, and cameras. So Sam made the call, the one he thought was right. He agreed to personally help escort the 80s members off the property safely. This wasn't about picking sides or showing weakness. It was about protecting the peace, protecting Nipsey's vision, and keeping the event from turning into something tragic. Sam wasn't trying to embarrass anyone or leave those guys exposed. He just wanted everyone to walk away with their pride intact and without blood being spilled on sacred ground that was built in Nipsey's name. He was searching for that fragile middle ground, the kind of peace that shows respect to everybody involved while keeping the vibe positive and safe. This was supposed to be a day of love, unity, and community pride, not tension and fear. Long Beach had come together to celebrate something real. The Marathon Burger grand opening had the city buzzing. Celebrities, local leaders, and families all pulling up with their kids to witness history in the making. It was exactly what Nipsey had always stood for: progress, ownership, and peace in the heart of the community.
It was supposed to be about opportunity, given back to the same neighborhood that raised them. Kids were getting free meals, city leaders were giving speeches full of hope, and the whole vibe was love, progress, and unity. But just as Blacc Sam and his crew started walking those 480s members toward the exit, nobody realized they were stepping straight into a trap.
People can't have nothing nice. And then to shoot up a Nipsey Hussle event.
Cameras were rolling, phones were live streaming, and the energy was tense but calm until everything flipped in an instant. According to people who were there, what happened next changed everything. Through it all, Blacc Sam stayed cool and respectful, keeping his composure even with all eyes on him. He walked up to the 480s members and said calmly, "I appreciate y'all coming." He was trying to calm things down before it got ugly, trying to protect the peace one last time. But nobody could have predicted what was waiting just a few steps ahead. Right after Sam spoke those words, "I appreciate y'all coming," the whole air around the event shifted. What was supposed to be a peaceful escort turned into complete chaos in a matter of seconds. Witnesses say it was like the tension just snapped. One wrong sound, one quick shout, and everything went sideways. Someone in the crowd yelled something no one could clearly make out, and then bam, the first shot rang out. Instant panic hit. Families started screaming, people dove behind cars and tables, and the sound of gunfire echoed across what just minutes earlier had been a scene of pure celebration. It went from music and laughter to fear and confusion in seconds. Witnesses say the 80s members started backing away, trying to get out, while everyone else ran for their lives. What began as an attempt to keep the peace had exploded into the very nightmare everyone was trying to prevent. Reports say bullets started flying in every direction. Storefronts shattered, cars got hit, even the stage area wasn't spared. The scene turned chaotic in a heartbeat. Through it all, witnesses said they saw Blacc Sam still trying to help, pulling people to safety, shouting for everyone to get down, and trying to shield kids caught in the middle of the madness. Even in the heart of a shootout, with danger all around, Sam's instincts were about protection, keeping his brother's vision alive, no matter how bad things got. Blacc Sam never lost focus. Even in the middle of madness, he was locked in on saving lives. When the gunfire finally stopped, the scene looked like something out of a war zone. Sirens were screaming, people were crying, and bodies were scattered across the ground. One person didn't make it, and several others were badly hurt. It was supposed to be about opportunity, given back to the same neighborhood that raised them. Kids were getting free meals, city leaders were giving speeches full of hope, and the whole vibe was love, progress, and unity. But just as Blacc Sam and his crew started walking those 480s members toward the exit, nobody realized they were stepping straight into a trap. Cameras were rolling, phones were live streaming, and the energy was tense but calm until everything flipped in an instant. According to people who were there, what happened next changed everything.
And knowing how he died is just crazy to me. It's crazy to me.
Through it all, Blacc Sam stayed cool and respectful, keeping his composure even with all eyes on him. He walked up to the 480s members and said calmly, "I appreciate y'all coming." He was trying to calm things down before it got ugly, trying to protect the peace one last time. But nobody could have predicted what was waiting just a few steps ahead. Right after Sam spoke those words, "I appreciate y'all coming," the whole air around the event shifted. What was supposed to be a peaceful escort turned into complete chaos in a matter of seconds. Witnesses say it was like the tension just snapped. One wrong sound, one quick shout, and everything went sideways. Someone in the crowd yelled something no one could clearly make out, and then bam, the first shot rang out. Instant panic hit. Families started screaming, people dove behind cars and tables, and the sound of gunfire echoed across what just minutes earlier had been a scene of pure celebration. It went from music and laughter to fear and confusion in seconds. Witnesses say the 80s members started backing away, trying to get out, while everyone else ran for their lives. What began as an attempt to keep the peace had exploded into the very nightmare everyone was trying to prevent. Reports say bullets started flying in every direction. Storefronts shattered, cars got hit, even the stage area wasn't spared. The scene turned chaotic in a heartbeat. Through it all, witnesses said they saw Blacc Sam still trying to help, pulling people to safety, shouting for everyone to get down, and trying to shield kids caught in the middle of the madness. Even in the heart of a shootout, with danger all around, Sam's instincts were about protection, keeping his brother's vision alive, no matter how bad things got. Blacc Sam never lost focus. Even in the middle of madness, he was locked in on saving lives. When the gunfire finally stopped, the scene looked like something out of a war zone. Sirens were screaming, people were crying, and bodies were scattered across the ground. One person didn't make it, and several others were badly hurt. It was pure heartbreak, the kind of sight that sticks with you forever. The grand opening that was meant to lift up the community had just turned into one of the darkest moments in recent memory. Everything was caught on camera. The panic, the screams, the fear. Within hours, that footage spread online, turning what was supposed to be a day of pride and hope into a viral tragedy. In just one night, Marathon Burger's second location went from being a dream come true to a brutal reminder of how deep the pain still runs in some communities.
It's so disrespectful to family. It's never that serious. And then they shooting out there with kids. It's like, y'all have no regard.
Where even good intentions can't always protect you from the streets. Before the chaos hit, witnesses say Blacc Sam tried to handle things the right way. He looked those 80s members straight in the eyes and said, "I appreciate the support for what we're building here, but the politics is politicking right now. Y'all gotta go, but we gonna make sure you get to your cars without any problems." He said it firm but respectful, making it clear he wasn't trying to diss anybody. He just wanted to keep the peace. And surprisingly, the 80s members agreed to leave, trusting Sam and his team to guide them off the property safely. They honestly believed it was going to be a smooth exit. No drama, no violence, just respect and understanding. But what they didn't realize was that Sam wasn't about to get caught up in Long Beach's long-running street politics. His loyalty was to his family, his business, and his late brother's vision, not to old rivalries that could destroy everything they'd built. So they started walking, Blacc Sam in the lead with a few of his team following close behind, trying to keep the situation calm. The walk from the restaurant door to the edge of the property wasn't long, but it felt endless. Every step carried weight. Every second felt like something could explode again. The tension was thick, like the whole crowd was holding its breath. People on the sidelines started to shift. Quiet whispers turned into side glances. Groups began to form, and eyes followed every move Sam made. The energy in the air was different, heavy, unpredictable, and charged. You could feel it. Something was off, and everyone there knew deep down that this story wasn't over yet. By the time Sam reached the edge of the marathon lot, the tension was about to burst. You could feel it building with every step. Sam stopped, turned to the group, and told them straight up, "This is as far as we can take y'all. We're not getting involved in Long Beach's politics. From here on out, y'all on your own." It wasn't cold or dismissive. It was about setting boundaries, keeping the peace without getting dragged into someone else's street war. But the moment Sam and his crew stepped back, everything went sideways instantly. Witnesses say the rivals were already in position, waiting for that exact moment. The second Sam drew that line and stepped away, all hell broke loose. Out of nowhere, the 480s members were surrounded, close to 100 enemies moving in from every angle. It wasn't even close to a fair fight.
People on the scene said it turned violent fast, fists flying, people yelling, total chaos breaking out. The sound of bodies hitting the pavement echoed across the lot, and all that energy that had been simmering all day finally exploded. The rivals had been holding back, waiting for the moment those 80s guys stepped off Sam's property. Once that boundary was crossed, all bets were off. They had been planning their move ever since that first act of disrespect inside the restaurant, and now they were executing it, brutally and without hesitation. But just when it seemed like it couldn't get any crazier, that same young 80s member, the one who started the whole mess with his reckless taunts, pulled out a gun. In the blink of an eye, the entire scene flipped from a brawl to a battlefield.
And it's just really upsetting. Like, let people have their things.
Witnesses say he fired wildly, trying to protect his crew and push the crowd back, but that one move turned everything into a straight-up war zone. Once the first shots rang out and people on the scene said it turned violent fast, fists flying, people yelling, total chaos breaking out. The sound of bodies hitting the pavement echoed across the lot, and all that energy that had been simmering all day finally exploded. The rivals had been holding back, waiting for the moment those 80s guys stepped off Sam's property. Once that boundary was crossed, all bets were off. They had been planning their move ever since that first act of disrespect inside the restaurant, and now they were executing it, brutally and without hesitation. But just when it seemed like it couldn't get any crazier, that same young 80s member, the one who started the whole mess with his reckless taunts, pulled out a gun. In the blink of an eye, the entire scene flipped from a brawl to a battlefield. Witnesses say he fired wildly, trying to protect his crew and push the crowd back, but that one move turned everything into a straight-up war zone. Once the first shots rang out in a crowd that big, control vanished completely. People started screaming, running, falling over each other, pure panic everywhere. Nobody knew where the bullets were coming from or who was shooting back. It was total mayhem. And that's the brutal truth about situations like this. When bullets start flying in a packed crowd, nobody's safe. Innocent people get caught in the crossfire, families get torn apart, and what started as a message or a warning turns into tragedy in seconds. What was supposed to be a day of celebration had now become a nightmare, and the streets once again reminded everyone just how fast peace can vanish. Too many people think pulling a weapon makes them powerful, like flashing that heat will somehow give them control. But the truth is, in moments like that, everybody's strapped. So when one person draws first, everyone else reacts, and before you even blink, the whole place turns into a battlefield. That's exactly what went down. The 80s member fired his gun, and in a split second, rivals started pulling theirs too. Gunfire exploded from every direction, shots smashing into cars, storefronts, the pavement, the sound of chaos echoing through what had been a block party just seconds before. Families were screaming, ducking behind cars and walls, parents throwing themselves over their kids to keep them safe. It was madness. Exclusive footage from that day caught it all. The terror, the panic, the heartbreak. You can see Blacc Sam running through the chaos, trying to drag someone to safety after they got shot in the leg. You can see Barry Gordon from No Jumper talking to police, saying, "I think I got shot," still in shock, trying to understand what just happened. The same parking lot that had been filled with laughter, music, and kids playing minutes earlier was now soaked in blood and fear. The sound of sirens started cutting through the gunfire, but the damage was already done. Two of the rivals got hit in the crossfire. One caught a leg shot, another took a graze. Both survived, but the pain went way deeper than the wounds. The entire community was left shaken. That one reckless moment, that one trigger pull, changed everything. The two rivals who were hit were rushed to the hospital and made full recoveries. But the young 80s member who started the chaos with his disrespectful behavior, he didn't make it. He never reached the hospital.
And let people do positive things for the community. You don't have to shoot up in that ghetto at every event. Yeah, it's ghetto. Y'all so irritating and embarrassing. Oh my God.
He died right there on the pavement, surrounded by confusion, smoke, and fear. And the worst part? It was all captured live on social media. That footage spread fast. The crowd screams, the chaos, the heartbreak, all streamed in real time. But what made it even darker was the reaction online. People weren't horrified, they were commenting, saying things like, "Keep gifting," and "Thanks for the donations," as if someone's final moments had turned into a game, a spectacle for clicks and coins. Hearing that streamer's voice casually say, "Keep gifting, guys," while a man was literally dying on camera was straight up sickening. It showed something way bigger than the violence. It showed how numb people have become. Real pain, real loss turned into digital entertainment for strangers scrolling through their phones. That moment hit hard. It was a mirror to where we are as a society. Instead of helping, people were recording. Instead of showing compassion, they were treating tragedy like just another viral clip. A man's death became content, and that cold reality might be the most haunting part of all. What went down that day wasn't just violent, it was heartless. The shooting happened so close to the front doors of Marathon Burger that nobody was safe. Hundreds of people who came out to support a dream suddenly found themselves ducking for cover in the middle of a nightmare. Families, kids, and elders, all trapped in the chaos, just steps away from where the gunfire broke out. These weren't gang members or people tied up in old rivalries. These were everyday folks who showed up to celebrate something positive. They were there to support Blacc Sam, to honor Nipsey's legacy, to show love for a movement that represented hope. But in seconds, that hope got shattered by something senseless and cold. When the investigation began, it peeled back layers that most people never see. It exposed how complicated rebuilding a community can be when deep street ties still run underneath it all. The truth was clear. You can bring progress to the block, but if old wounds never healed, that peace stays fragile.
Long Beach PD hit the scene fast, multiple units rushing in, lights flashing everywhere. They locked down the entire area while paramedics raced to help the wounded. News choppers circled overhead, capturing it all, flashing lights, yellow tape stretching across the lot, officers weaving between multiple active crime scenes. It looked like something out of a movie, but this was real life, and it was heartbreaking. Ambulances tore off with victims inside, and the crowd stood frozen, shocked that a celebration for unity had turned into a tragedy that would haunt Marathon Burger and Blacc Sam for years to come. The crime scene stretched nearly the entire property, shell casings scattered everywhere, cars riddled with bullet holes, and pieces of dreams left on the pavement. Because the shooting happened in such a packed space, investigators had a huge task ahead of them. They had to interview hundreds of witnesses, gather shell casings, and go through hours of live streams and videos, trying to rebuild the timeline second by second. But not everyone was willing to talk, and that made things even harder. In neighborhoods where the street code still rules, speaking to law enforcement can come with real consequences. People were scared of being labeled, scared of retaliation, scared of the fallout. And this crowd wasn't made up of random bystanders. There were big names right there when everything fell apart. Snoop Dogg had pulled up to honor Nip's legacy and found himself watching the very kind of violence Nipsey fought to end. Big Boy, the radio legend who's always pushed for local success, saw firsthand why so many investors hesitate to support high-risk neighborhoods, even when their hearts are in the right place. And YG, who grew up around the same kind of streets, felt the pain heavy because he knew exactly how fast progress can fall apart when street politics mix with positivity. Sources close to the investigation said many of those high-profile guests left that day shaken, saying they couldn't put themselves in a situation like that again. The dream that started as a symbol of growth had turned into a harsh reminder that even the brightest visions can be clouded by the darkness still hiding in the streets. They weren't just shaken, they were done. And that's where the real heartbreak hit hardest. Because this tragedy didn't just take a life or leave people hurt, it crushed the energy that the community needed most. It killed the momentum that Nipsey's dream had built, scared off future investors, and made people wonder if peace and business can ever truly exist side by side in neighborhoods still haunted by the streets. Families who had shown up just to enjoy the day, kids smiling, parents proud, left broken and traumatized. Little ones crying, parents in shock, people hugging each other, just trying to make sense of what they'd lived through. What was meant to be a symbol of hope turned into a painful reminder of how fragile progress really is when the streets still got unfinished business. Community leaders who had fought so hard to make that grand opening happen, calling it a turning point for the city, were suddenly left scrambling for answers. They had to face their people and explain how a day meant to lift everyone up turned into bloodshed right in front of the world. It was a gut punch to everyone who had believed in the mission. The tragedy didn't just shake emotions, it brought back ugly stereotypes about certain neighborhoods. It gave outsiders one more reason to doubt the potential of those communities and made it even harder for anyone trying to bring good businesses, safe spaces, and opportunity back to the block. While city officials were out there trying to calm the public and control the story, the streets were already reacting in their own way. The 80s crew had lost one of their young members, and in that world, things don't just stop there. In gang culture, loss demands a response, and that means retaliation. Word started spreading fast. The rivals who were part of that fight now had targets on their backs. Whispers of payback were already echoing across the city. The same toxic cycle of violence that Nipsey had spent years speaking out against was now threatening to repeat itself at an event meant to honor his message of peace, growth, and unity. The death of that young 80s member wasn't just one life lost, it became a spark, a dangerous one that could light up another chain of revenge, pulling more people into the mess and putting even more lives at risk. That's how it happens. One shooting leads to another, one loss triggers the next, and before you know it, months or even years go by before the streets ever calm down. Families get torn apart, communities stay divided, and healing never gets the chance to even begin. And right in the middle of it all was Blacc Sam, stuck in an impossible position. He had done everything right, tried to talk it out, stayed respectful, kept it peaceful, even offered a safe escort to stop any violence before it started. He never picked sides, never played politics. He was just trying to protect his brother's legacy and keep the focus on what really mattered: community empowerment, ownership, and love. But when tragedy hits like that, even good intentions can get drowned out by the noise of the streets. And that's exactly what Sam was now facing. Because the tragedy happened right outside his own event, under his brand, Blacc Sam couldn't escape the fallout. Whether he liked it or not, his name was now tied to the violence. Instead of being celebrated for trying to uplift the block, he found himself pulled into a narrative he never asked for, one where business, legacy, and the streets collided in the worst way imaginable.
The legal investigation is still moving, but out in the streets, justice moves a whole lot faster than any courtroom ever could. Law enforcement sources say they've got crystal clear footage of the shooting and already identified a few potential suspects. But that doesn't mean the case is anywhere close to being solved, not when it's tied to street politics. In situations like this, getting witnesses to talk is nearly impossible. Everyone knows one wrong word can come back on you fast. Retaliation doesn't wait for trials or paperwork, it happens in real time. Still, one thing is certain, the Marathon Burger shooting didn't just shake Long Beach, it sent shockwaves everywhere. This wasn't some random act of violence, this was an attack on progress itself. It hit every entrepreneur, every small business owner, and every person trying to bring real growth to neighborhoods that need it most. Suddenly, people were asking the hard question: Is it even possible to build something positive in a place where danger still lives around every corner? For Blacc Sam, this became bigger than one tragic night. It turned into a defining moment for Nipsey's entire legacy. The choices he makes now will shape what happens next for the whole marathon movement. Does he keep building in the same communities Nipsey fought to uplift, knowing the risks but believing in the purpose? Or does he move operations to safer ground, protecting the people who just want to support the vision without fearing gunfire every time they show up for a meal? That's the painful crossroads he's standing at right now. Stay true to the mission or adapt to survive. Because in these neighborhoods, real change never comes easy. Every step forward comes with danger attached. Every win comes with risk, and every dream comes with a price tag, one that's often paid in fear, sacrifice, and heartbreak. This tragedy didn't just scar the community, it forced the whole hip-hop world to face a hard truth. You can have all the fame, all the money, all the respect, and all the love from the culture, but if the mindset of violence stays stronger than the will to grow, progress doesn't stand a chance. Even the purest dreams can fall apart when old street codes refuse to die. What happened outside Marathon Burger wasn't just a shooting, it was a warning. A harsh reminder of what happens when the streets won't let peace breathe. And for those still fighting for change, it's proof that the battle for progress isn't just about business, it's about survival, legacy, and the fight to prove that hope can still live even in the places the world gave up on. In the weeks after the Marathon Burger shooting, the aftermath hit the whole city like a punch to the chest. News outlets kept replaying the same gut-wrenching footage, social media couldn't stop dissecting every second, and everyone online had something to say, opinions flying louder and faster than ever. Some blamed the streets, others blamed the system, but one thing everyone agreed on, something broke that day. Blacc Sam went quiet. No interviews, no statements, just silence. Insiders say he needed time to breathe, time to think. He was proud of what the Marathon brand had accomplished, but that pride came with pain now. He couldn't shake the thought that his brother's dream, a vision built on peace, empowerment, and ownership, had been stained with blood. For years, he'd turned Nipsey's message into real motion, giving jobs, opening businesses, creating opportunities where there used to be none. But now he was faced with the hardest question of all. How do you move forward when the same community you're trying to lift up is drowning in pain? Meanwhile, across South LA and Long Beach, business owners were shook. Some froze their expansion plans, others canceled community events altogether. They looked at what happened at Marathon Burger and realized just how fragile that line is between hope and heartbreak, especially in neighborhoods still carrying the scars of old rivalries and deep-rooted street codes. Behind closed doors, conversations got tense. Community leaders were scrambling to hold on to faith, while investors started pulling back. Families who once showed up proudly to every local event now hesitated, afraid to risk it all for another tragedy. The ripple effect was massive. What was meant to represent unity ended up revealing how deep the division still runs beneath the surface. But even through the chaos, a few voices refused to stay silent. Some people wouldn't let that tragedy define the movement. Activists, organizers, and local leaders started pushing harder than ever, calling for new safety measures, stronger community partnerships, and better coordination between local businesses and law enforcement. They weren't trying to flood the block with police, they just wanted to make sure that positive events could actually stay positive. For Blacc Sam, this became more than just business, it became redemption. He started working behind the scenes to rebuild trust, quietly reaching out to community elders, business mentors, and even members of rival sets. He wanted to find real solutions, ways to protect what Nipsey started without losing the soul of the mission. It wasn't easy. Every step forward came with pressure and pushback, but Sam knew one thing for sure: quitting wasn't an option. Walking away would mean letting the streets win, and that was something he could never do. This was about more than burgers, more than business. It was about proving that Nipsey's dream still had a heartbeat, even in the middle of the pain.
The story of Marathon Burger became bigger than just one tragic night. It turned into a real test of whether change can survive in the very places that need it the most. And for Blacc Sam, the fight was far from over. In fact, it was just beginning. Even with heavyweights like Snoop Dogg, Big Boy, and YG in the crowd, violence still found its way in. Their fame, influence, and power in the culture, none of it was enough to stop what was coming. Some people even believe that having that much star power in one place might have actually made the event a target to the wrong kind of people. A high-profile crowd wasn't protection, it was opportunity. For anyone looking to make a statement or settle an old score, that grand opening became the perfect stage to do it loud, public, and unforgettable. This tragedy exposed a harsh truth about celebrity involvement in community projects. Fame can open doors, but it can also invite danger. When stars show up to support a neighborhood business or stand behind a good cause, it brings cameras, hype, and attention. But it also brings eyes from people who see success as something to destroy, not celebrate. Some folks can't stand to see others rising, especially when they feel left behind. That mix of jealousy and violence is toxic, and when it bubbles over, it never ends well. The same spotlight meant to inspire people can turn deadly when envy starts driving the narrative. Right now, the Marathon Burger location in Long Beach remains shut down. The building's still standing, but the doors locked tight. It's more than just a closed restaurant. It's a painful reminder of what went down that day, a symbol of how fragile hope can be when the streets aren't ready to change. The investigation is still ongoing, and the family is moving carefully, deciding whether reopening would be worth the risk. Nobody wants to see that kind of tragedy repeat itself. Meanwhile, the original LA location is still holding it down, still serving the people, creating jobs, and keeping Nipsey's message alive. Every burger flip there means something. It's a statement that the dream still breathes, no matter how much pressure comes its way. But the question echoing through the community is real and heavy. How many more times can this vision survive the chaos around it? How many more close calls before the dream becomes too dangerous to chase? The ripple effects from that one day are still being felt. Entrepreneurs who once studied Nipsey's blueprint for ownership and empowerment are now hesitating, wondering if trying to build in the same streets they came from is bravery or a setup for heartbreak. For the culture, Marathon Burger isn't just a business, it's a symbol, a reminder that progress in the hood doesn't come easy and that every step forward comes with risk. But even in the middle of all the fear, that spirit of ownership still burns, because if Nipsey taught anything, it's that the marathon must continue even when the road gets dark. Now people are starting to wonder if it's even worth putting their lives and businesses on the line anymore. Investors who once dreamed of building in these same communities are quietly backing out, scared they could be next. This wasn't just one family's heartbreak, it was a hit to an entire movement built on empowerment, unity, and self-sufficiency. And until something truly changes, that question still hangs in the air. Can progress really survive in places still battling their past? This tragedy didn't just take lives, it crushed momentum. It stopped real economic growth right where it was starting to bloom, especially in neighborhoods that needed it most. No cap, this right here shows why some areas can't be rebuilt until they rebuild themselves. When street politics start outweighing business opportunities, when the loudest voices on the block belong to gang members instead of community leaders, and when violence becomes the first response instead of the last, that's when progress dies before it even gets a chance to live. It's sad, but it's real. Some neighborhoods say they want new businesses, more jobs, safer streets, but then turn around and make it impossible for those same dreams to survive. When people protect their egos more than they protect opportunity, the whole block loses. Everybody pays the price. And the worst part? The ones who pay the price aren't even the ones starting the chaos. It's the families caught in the middle, the ones who just want peace. It's the moms and dads who just want a safe place to eat with their kids, who want steady jobs close to home, who want their neighborhoods to feel alive again.
They end up trapped between hope and fear, held hostage by the reckless few who keep the whole community stuck in the same cycle. That's the real tragedy right there. This isn't just about one shooting, one death, or one restaurant closing its doors. It's about the message it sends to every entrepreneur watching from the sidelines. It makes them think twice before investing in the very neighborhoods that need that investment the most, because when violence becomes predictable, when safety can't be guaranteed, when politics of the streets start overpowering the plans for progress, everything slows down.
And when growth stalls like that, the damage doesn't stop at one block. It stacks up year after year, generation after generation. The longer it continues, the harder it gets to pull the community out of the hole. At some point, the block's got to look in the mirror. The community has to ask itself the tough questions. Are we protecting progress, or are we protecting pain? Because until that answer changes, the dream of ownership, empowerment, and unity will always be fighting an uphill battle against the same streets that need saving the most. When territorial pride starts meaning more than job opportunities, everybody loses. When quick reactions replace long-term thinking, progress doesn't just stall, it collapses. And the sad truth is, the setback doesn't stop at one block. It ripples through entire communities, pushing whole areas further away from stability and growth. The hit to hip-hop culture was deep too. Nipsey's blueprint, ownership, reinvestment, and building in your own backyard had inspired a whole generation of artists, dreamers, and young hustlers to create change right where they came from instead of running from it. But moments like this, they make that vision look dangerous. They make people question if building at home is smart or if it's just setting yourself up for heartbreak. Now, all eyes are on Blacc Sam. The whole culture's watching to see what move he makes next. Does he pull back, move operations to safer areas and protect his people? Does he tighten up security and shift the energy, even if that changes the community vibe? Or does he stand 10 toes down, refusing to fold, proving that the mission is bigger than the fear? Whatever decision he makes won't just affect one restaurant, it'll shape how Nipsey's entire legacy moves forward from here. Because at the end of the day, this whole tragedy forces one cold, uncomfortable truth into the spotlight. Progress and pain live side by side in the same neighborhoods. You can build something beautiful on one corner, but chaos might still be waiting just a block away. That's the reality Blacc Sam is facing, trying to plant seeds of growth in soil still scarred by decades of conflict and loss. After the shooting, community elders started speaking up loud. Voices that had stayed quiet for years finally said enough is enough. Some called for stronger unity between business owners and neighborhood leaders. Others demanded accountability, saying straight up that the streets can't keep sabotaging opportunities and then complaining when outsiders don't invest. The conversation got louder than ever because everyone realized this wasn't just about one night. This was about the future of the entire area. And beneath all the pain, there's a deeper lesson, one about responsibility. Ownership isn't just about having the keys to a building or putting your name on a sign. It's about protecting what that space represents. If a community really wants grocery stores, restaurants, tech hubs, and jobs, then protecting those spaces has to become everybody's mission. It can't fall on one person, one family, or one brand to hold it all together. The road forward won't be easy. Not for Blacc Sam, not for the Marathon brand, not for the city. Every move he makes now carries serious weight for the business, for Nipsey's name, and for the entire culture watching closely. Because what happens next will show whether the dream can survive the pain and whether the message Nipsey left behind still has the power to rise above the chaos trying to bury it. Watching from a distance, one thing is clear. Nipsey's dream of economic empowerment didn't die that day. The community still has the power to rise up, to protect progress the same way it protects pride. Because what's really on the line here isn't just one restaurant or one family, it's the future of a movement. What happens next will decide whether Nipsey's legacy of ownership and empowerment keeps pushing forward or becomes another painful example of how street violence can crush progress before it fully blooms. That's the real battle.
It's not just about street politics, it's about priorities. Until businesses mean more than beef, until family events are treated like sacred ground where violence never belongs, stories like this will keep repeating themselves. It's tough to hear, but when pride and retaliation weigh heavier than unity and opportunity, everybody ends up paying the price. And it's never the loudest ones in the drama who suffer the most, it's the families. The parents who just wanted to support something positive in their neighborhood. The kids who showed up smiling, ready to grab food and see something new built on their block. The workers who finally thought they'd found steady jobs and a future they could believe in. They're the ones who lose when violence wins. They lose access to safe spaces, to opportunity, and to hope that their community can grow without being torn apart. This incident won't just go down as another shooting. It'll stand as a warning, a harsh reminder of how easily progress can be destroyed from within. It shows how a vision meant to uplift can be threatened by the same environment it's trying to heal. But it also serves a call for accountability, for unity, for people to finally protect the progress that's being built in their name. Because if the community doesn't protect their blessings, nobody else will. So now the question lands in your hands. Do you think businesses like this should keep building in tough areas no matter the risk? Or should safety come first every time? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Your voice matters in this conversation. And if this breakdown hits you deep, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs to hear this message. Let's keep the talk going, because real change doesn't start in the headlines. It starts right here, with us deciding what kind of future we're willing to fight for.